Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tearing down the sales pitch for a huge luxury development. We're going to see how the dream of a perfect city life is actually built, and, of course, how it's sold.
So, this is the big promise from a project in India called Serenity Hills. Come home to acres of nature. I mean, that's a really powerful line, right? It hits you right in the feels, tapping into that universal craving for some peace and quiet in a loud, crowded city.
But you gotta ask, how do you pull that off? How do you really build a natural oasis for almost 1,000 families on one piece of land? Well, we're gonna break down the blueprint. Let's see how that big, dreamy promise gets turned into actual concrete, steel, and a perfectly planned community.
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll follow the breadcrumbs of the sales pitch itself. First up, that big promise. Then, we'll get a handle on just how massive this thing is. After that, we'll see how they actually engineer the green living part, check out the lifestyle they're selling, and finally, we'll take a peek inside the apartments themselves.
Okay, let's get into it. To pull off a vision this big, you need a pretty big canvas. So, let's start with the basics. Where's this thing, and what are we talking about in terms of size?
First off, the land. We're talking nearly 26 acres. To put that in perspective, that's like 20 football fields. So yeah, it's huge. And it's located in Gurugram, which is a major city right next to New Delhi, so it's smack dab in the middle of a really hot development zone.
And on that giant piece of land, they're putting up 13 towers. And we're not talking about little apartment blocks here. These are skyscrapers, shooting up as high as 39 stories. And you can see the strategy, right? Build up so you can keep the ground open.
Get this, those towers are going to be home to almost 1,000 families, 997 to be precise, and that's just in this first phase. So, this isn't just an apartment complex, it's basically a small town, just pointed at the sky.
And that small town idea goes all the way down to the basement. I mean, look at this. It's super logical. They've planned out the parking based on how big your apartment is. Got a 4-bedroom? You get 3 spots. A smaller 3-bedroom? 1 spot. It just shows you how every little detail is part of this massive master plan.
Okay, so we've got the scale. It's huge. But let's get back to that big promise. Acres of nature. How does that actually show up in the design?
Well, this is the secret sauce. This is how they do it. Remember how they built tall towers? That means the footprint of the buildings on the ground is tiny. Look at that. Only 13% of the land has buildings on it. That leaves a whopping 87% totally open for green space.
And that decision results in over 20 acres of landscaped nature. At the very center of it all is a huge 8-acre park. And check this out. It's literally shaped like a heart. A little on the nose maybe, but it definitely gets the point across. This green space is the heart of the whole community.
On top of all that, the whole project is designed to be eco-friendly. They're going for this top-level green building certification, which basically means the design has to check a ton of boxes for sustainability.
And that certification isn't just some fancy plaque they hang on the wall. It actually means real, practical benefits for the people who live there. We're talking things you'd actually notice, like cleaner air inside, more sunlight, and hey, lower electricity and water bills. Who wouldn't want that?
Okay, so we've got the green space. But look, they're not just selling you an apartment with a nice lawn. No, they're selling a complete, perfectly curated lifestyle. And how do they deliver that? With an absolutely insane list of amenities.
And when I say insane, I mean it. The scale here is just wow. For starters, there's a huge focus on fitness. Between the main clubhouse and other spots, you're looking at about 100,000 square feet of space dedicated just to recreation and sports.
Yeah, this is way more than just some tiny gym tucked away in the basement. It's the whole shebang. Pools, tennis courts, badminton, squash, even a cricket pitch and proper jogging tracks. The idea is you never have to leave the complex to stay active.
But of course, a perfect lifestyle isn't just about working out. A huge part of what they're selling is a built-in social life. They've designed all these spaces specifically for hanging out and having fun, all there inside the gates. The goal is to create this little self-contained social bubble. You want to go out to eat? There's a restaurant. Want to throw a huge party? There's a banquet hall. Feel like a movie? Mini theater. You can even put up your friends and family in guest rooms. You literally never have to leave.
What's really interesting is how the plan also leans into 2 of the biggest changes in how we live today: the huge boom in remote work and the reality of families where both parents are working.
I think this is fascinating. It really shows how our lives are changing. You've got co-working spaces and quiet work pods right next to a daycare and kids' playrooms. It's a design that's tailor-made for the modern work-from-home parent trying to juggle it all.
All right, so we've seen the community. Let's finally zoom all the way into the personal space, the apartment itself. How do all those big ideas about space, nature, and light actually play out when you walk through your own front door?
So, this chart breaks down the 3 main types of apartments, but here's what you should really look at: the balcony area. I mean, these are huge. For the biggest apartment, the balcony is over 400 square feet. That's like having your own little backyard, just, floating in the sky. It's how they bring that acres of nature promise right to your doorstep.
And once you're inside, it's all about light and privacy. Most of the apartments are designed to be open on 3 sides, and they have these great corner windows to just flood the place with light and give you amazing views. But here's the really clever part. They've angled the towers so you're not just staring into your neighbor's apartment. It helps create that feeling that you're in your own private little sanctuary.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, it's pretty clear what's happening. Serenity Hills isn't really just selling apartments, it's selling a complete, prepackaged answer to the chaos of city life. You get nature, but without the messy, wild parts. You get community, but without any of the unpredictability. And that leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. Is this kind of perfectly engineered serenity the future of how we live in our cities?